Shaquille O'Neal, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Wilt Chamberlain are some of the best centers to ever play. And today they're in the modern NBA after being added to the 2025 NBA draft, where Shaq will be going 3rd overall to the Portland Trail Blazers, joining a young Scoot Henderson to create an exciting young duo. Wilt, on the other hand, was being selected 2nd in the draft by the Utah Jazz, giving him a tough road ahead on one of basketball's worst teams. And finally, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar would be heading out east, donning the black and gray after being selected 1st overall by the Brooklyn Nets. But we'll also see 7 of the other best bigs of all time in the 2025 draft as we look to determine the greatest center to ever play. And to do so, they'll all be racing each other to see who can win 2 rings first. I know 2 doesn't seem like a lot, but with so much talent in the league, it's gonna be easier said than done, which was obvious right away in the first season for our stars, because even though guys like David Robinson was fitting in right away in this era, still putting up some huge numbers, their team's record wouldn't exactly reflect their production, as we'd see Charlotte still sitting at the bottom of the conference. But he wasn't alone. Moses Malone and Wilt Chamberlain were each unable to improve their team's record in the West, even though both averaged a double-double for the year. And even the Washington Wizards still had the worst record in the whole league, which was a shock because their star Hakeem Olajuwon not only put up huge numbers on offense, but on defense he'd make the all-defense first team and came in 2nd for Defensive Player of the Year while finishing as the Rookie of the Year, meaning he won the award over guys like Shaq, whose nearly 21 points a night led all rookies in scoring for the year, and he would be one of the few players to actually improve his team's record, getting Portland back in the playoffs already, something that only 2 other players were able to do, like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar leading the way on both ends of the ball, getting the Nets home court advantage in the postseason, yet somehow still being one-upped by the Bulls with Bill Russell, whose defense was the glue of the team, and his abilities in the pick and roll with the Bulls guards was leading to the team's best record since D Rose. But none of that mattered at the end of the day, because the finals wouldn't feature any of our stars, and instead Dallas was showing that the Luka trade maybe wasn't so bad. And more importantly, they were showing the value of a quality big man, and reassuring us that some of the best centers ever can easily fit into winning basketball in this era. So as we move forward into the 2nd year, it should come as no surprise that we were starting to see all of these stars elevating their games. In particular, Shaquille O'Neal, who was having possibly the largest jump from all of his peers in year 2, with a season packed full of highlight plays.
Richardson, O'Neal, and Tucker. The backdoor. Shaq still got some left.
And while Shaq stood out as taking the biggest jump, it didn't mean that everyone else stayed stagnant, because across the board, they were all seeing an improvement to their entire stat lines, and in a result, over half of our bigs would be contending for their first rings, finding themselves in the playoffs this year, where we'd see our first instance of centers clashing with one another as a battle unfolds out east between Kareem and George Mikan, although it was a relatively one-sided affair, because no matter how hard Mikan tried, he wasn't keeping up with the scoring from Kareem down low, leading to this series ending after only 5, but just because he lost here, don't count Mikan out just yet. Soon enough, he'll be in the NBA Finals in one of the most important moments in the whole sim. Fate of this entire competition falls on George Mikan right now. He gets the ball down low in the post. For now though, we'll continue following Abdul-Jabbar as he now faces off against Robinson and his Hornets, instantly looking to be a much more competitive matchup than the first round, with the Admiral having plenty of size to bang down low with Kareem, giving him a much more difficult time than the undersized Mikan, setting the stage for a back and forth round 2 frenzy, trading game after game until eventually only one heavyweight was left standing, with the Nets surviving the duel to make their first conference final, only to be crushed by a Pistons team that has been developing their talent for years now, building up experience over the last seasons, all in an effort to humble Kareem, closing the door in the East for any of our protagonists to advance, but one more star had a chance in the finals.
The Nuggets delivered a 4-game sweep to become conference champions, just 4 wins away. The first chapter begins against the Detroit Pistons, Game 1 of the NBA Finals.
Nikola Jokic worked his way through the West to set himself up for a chance for the first ring in this competition, and with the way he was playing, it looked very likely that he may just claim the title. With him already being in the league, he wasn't a year 2 player like everybody else, but with him being undoubtedly one of the best centers ever, he had to be included in this, and he was quickly showing you why, just in case you had any doubts, defeating the Detroit Pistons easily, becoming the first to get up on the board, and now he only needs one more to win this whole thing. Jokic has a slight advantage having a little bit of experience, but at the end of the day, this is still going to be anything but easy. Because the very following season, after dropping to the 8th seed, Denver was going to be meeting their match in only round 1. The Rockets, who were now led by Ace Bailey, may have finally had everything clicking at the right time, smoking Denver in the first round, leaving only 2 more of our centers left in the West this year, both of which were in their playoff debut. And conveniently enough, they were in a head-to-head duel against each other in the first round, where they were each nearly evenly matched, actually putting up very similar numbers, which was expected after they would headline the center position on the All-NBA first and second teams. But at the end of the day, this series was coming down to the supporting cast, and Utah would have the edge there, with Isaiah Collier playing at a near all-star level, helping Utah eliminate the Kings. But unfortunately for Wilt and his Jazz, they were about to face the best player in basketball. Victor Wembanyama has won the last 2 MVPs while still on the hunt for his first career ring, and he wasn't going to let Wilt get in the way of that goal. Chamberlain's athleticism and size allowed him to play some incredible defense against Wemby, yet the French native was still giving him the work, especially when you mention that he was paired with Trae Young, creating an absolutely lethal 2-man offense, and it wouldn't look good for Wilt. Wemby and the Spurs just completely dog-walked Wilt Chamberlain's Utah Jazz. Still impressive for the Jazz to get here. Wemby is going straight to the finals, but he's going to have a competitor that has a chance to win their first ring. Because out east, Kareem was on a revenge tour after coming up short the season prior, picking through every round against some teams that don't have one of our GOAT centers, and then even defeating some teams that do, all until he was paving a way for the Nets to make their first ever NBA Finals. So now we would have a skirmish between 2 of the tallest bigs in the league, both with completely different playstyles from the other. Kareem being more of a traditional center, back to the basket, looking for opportunities in the paint more often than not, while on the other hand, Wemby spent a lot of his time around the perimeter, looking to score the extra points beyond the arc, which gave us an interesting insight in the difference between eras. But while their styles were different, the level of play couldn't possibly be any closer. Because after 4 games, both sides defended their home courts, turning this into a best-of-3 series, which would barely be enough to decide a winner in these finals, with both stars continuing to battle to the very end, trading more blows with one another, locking things up to decide an entire season with 1 game. However, things were finally about to take a turn here and be anything but close. With 48 minutes left after an 82-game season, Kareem was refusing to fall flat in this moment, putting up his season high in points at just the right time, pouring in 41 on the night, which even with Wemby setting a record 8 steals in this game, this climactic duel was finally ending in a blowout.
The Brooklyn Nets have done it! They are the NBA champions!
And now that he was able to withstand the battle with Wemby, Kareem would now have 1 ring, only 1 more away from winning the competition, and it was clear that he earned it. It is hard to overstate just how good this performance was. The NBA record for Game 7 points in the finals is 42. So Wemby was just 1 off, and this was an absolutely intense clash between these 2 stars. But not every season was going to conclude with a close battle, because come the 2029 finals, this time it was David Robinson who was facing off with Wembanyama. And your first instinct may be that the Spurs finally get their ring, but in reality, Charlotte was finally breaking out of poverty. The duo of LaMelo Ball and David Robinson has developed nicely over the last few years, and this star-studded perfect pairing would be more than enough to get the job done. Winning the finals this season with far less theatrics than Kareem went through the season prior, now earning Robinson a ring as well, to join both Jokic and Abdul-Jabbar in this competition, which was just about to heat up even more, because even though we haven't checked in on them in a while, all 10 of the centers around the league were absolutely feasting. In particular on the defensive end, Olajuwon was really shining, winning this season's Defensive Player of the Year, barely getting more votes than Bill Russell, who would be all defense first team. And it wasn't just the defense we'd be seeing. These stars are also putting up huge numbers on the offensive end, with the top 5 scorers from our group all averaging over 25 points a night, even while playing mostly in the paint in a 3-point league. But that clearly didn't matter. These bigs were taking over the league and frankly turning back the clock to a more interior focused NBA, with 7 of the 10 bigs making an all-NBA team this year. However, all of that may be completely pointless come the finals, because Nikola Jokic was up 2-0 against the Raptors, meaning he was 2 wins away from winning this competition, and with the lead late in game 3, he had a chance to go up 3-0. This entire simulation is on the line right now. If the Nuggets win here, they go up 3-0 in the series and more than likely win, giving Jokic his 2nd championship, ending the competition. But it's all on that line with George Mikan. The spin move, his lay. It's off. Mikan the board though. Ingram, the big shot. It's good. Gives the Raptors the lead. Donovan Mitchell now on this end, guarded by Dyson Daniels. A lot of high caliber talent on the court right here. Boozer, one of the best young players in the league, being sticked by Scotty Barnes. Boozer's lay. It's off, but he gets the board. That putback's too easy. 90 seconds left in this game. The fate of this entire competition falls on George Mikan right now. He gets the ball down low in the post. Jokic on him. Mikan, the spin moves, trying to find something down there. He can't find anything. Kicks it again. Ingram again delivers. Brandon Ingram is playing out of his mind right now. Donovan Mitchell, the bad pass. Ingram with the steal. It's all Brandon Ingram in the final moments. Dyson Daniels, he kicks down low to Brunson. He gets him jumping. The lay, 4-point lead. The Nuggets are having a monumental collapse in these final moments. Just under a minute left, down by 4. You have to go quick now. They kick it down low to Boozer again, going to the young buck. His step back's good. Only a 2-point game now for Toronto. This one is far from over. You have to score here or else Denver has a chance. They go down low to Mikan again. The pump fake doesn't get Joker jumping. A tough lay. What is he shooting? The Nuggets down the other end. Boozer. His floater's good. Coming out of the timeout, it's all tied up. They had a 4-point lead and it vanished in the blink of an eye. Brandon Ingram with it now. Are they going to go to Ingram again? Mikan has been selling, even though he's their best player by a long shot. Ingram sizing up Michael Porter Jr. It's looking like they want to go for the last shot here. I think it's going to be Brandon Ingram. I am on the edge of my seat, waiting to see what happens. Tie basketball game. Brandon Ingram, 1-on-1. He calls for the ISO, drives to the paint, great separation, and a foul! Ingram gets it to go! Ingram is single-handedly saving the Toronto Raptors, but the Nuggets do have one final possession, down by 3. They gotta go for the tie. Inbound, Jokic in the corner, and it's off! The Raptors survive 2-1 series. Wow! But just because they won that game didn't mean things would be easy from here on out, because the Nuggets were still very talented, rounding out multiple big names around Jokic. However, the Raptors were up for the task, because even with as bad as he performed in Game 3, Mikan would come out the following games like a completely different player, averaging over 30 a night against the questionable defense from the Joker to help keep his team in the driver's seat from here forward. Sweeping the Nuggets over the course of the next 4 games straight, bringing home a championship to Canada, but more importantly, giving Mikan his first ring and stopping Jokic from getting number 2. But we're going to keep this running right along, because there's still a lot to talk about, starting with the 2031 regular season, where Kareem was all the buzz around the league, which was because by this point, our stars were joining in on conversations for the best player in the league, and Abdul-Jabbar was in the front of the talk, having a career year on both ends of the ball, regardless of the fact that the rest of his team was underwhelming compared to others, and his elite play couldn't go unnoticed. We finally have an MVP in this competition. The first center to do it is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I thought it would be someone like Wilt or maybe Shaq, but Kareem deserves it. You cannot deny that. But come the playoffs, having such a weak roster was finally catching up to him in the midst of Hakeem Olajuwon, who after years of missing the playoffs was finally in position to make some progress, and he wasn't letting it pass him by, sending the MVP packing home just as quick as he got here. And the dream wasn't stopping there. He was on a revenge tour, making up for lost time, knocking out his competitors round after round, making a statement that it may very well be him who wins this thing after years of struggle, eventually winning his conference to advance to the NBA Finals, which wouldn't last long enough to even talk about, as the team was winning it all against Wilt Chamberlain in possibly the most impressive playoff run of all time, leading a team without a single other All-Star, which would actually spark a good run for others finding success, with the following year Wilt making it back to the pinnacle again, and this time overcoming his opponent, after luckily not facing a single one of our 10-star centers in this run. Meaning now, over half of our competitors all have a ring, and surely, very soon, someone will win their second. And it looked like that very well could be the following season, where Wilt Chamberlain was retaliating after losing his second finals in only 3 years, now putting on a show with his best year of his career, putting up massive numbers en route to winning this season's MVP, only to find himself in the finals against the Knicks again, but this time down 3-1 with New York on fire. And although in Game 5 he'd put up a massive 45-point outburst, leading to Utah extending the series, in Game 6 the Jazz were running out of gas, with the Knicks completely outplaying them, halting Wilt's MVP run with a loss, but don't expect him to stay down for too long, because he was right back in the NBA Finals the next year. And this was the biggest of them all, because against Kareem, one of these two was winning the competition here. And this simulation concluding duel wasn't going to disappoint for even a second, with the first two battles being back and forth with both sides equally matched. Each team was feeding their bigs to trust them with the season on the line, and as the series is knotted up after 2, Game 3 was massively important, and it was coming down to the last seconds. This game is going down literally to the final couple of possessions in what so far has been one of the closest matchups I've ever seen on this channel. These are two heavyweight teams going back and forth. Kareem down low in the paint over Wilt. Wilt's defense deters the shots. They're only down by 2 now. Utah has a chance to tie this game or take a lead with 90 seconds remaining in Game 3. The NBA Finals. Black to Wilt for the tie. Both teams are loaded out 1 through 5 and with deep benches. This could be anyone's match. Another backdoor cut. Kareem reclaims the lead with the exact same play that Utah just used on them. The Jazz now. Anthony Black with the ball. The pick and roll with Wilt. They're going for it again. It's back and forth dunks. Brooklyn with the ball now. If you're Utah, you have got to look for that slip to the basket and cut that off. They're going for it every time. There it is again. This time Wilt is able to get in front of Kareem. Kareem down low in the paint. Kareem's post spin, the pump, a series of moves, a tough leaner. That one's off. Utah now has an opportunity to take a lead here in the final moments of the game. Grady Dick guarding this guy. I don't know who half these guys are. We're so far in the future. Anthony Black, they're finding Wilt again. Kareem was ready this time. 38 seconds remaining in the game. Brooklyn with the ball. Anthony Black, the pull-up J. Got it! Gives them the lead! What a shot by, I don't even know who that is. Like I said, we're so far in the future. I have no clue. Wilt in the post now, down by 3. The season on the line. A tough fade. That's off Kareem the board. That could actually do it. This could be over. And as buries both free throws, they extend the lead to 5. Utah uses his last timeout off the inbound. Ubasele for 3. It rims out. That's gonna do it. Brooklyn is going up 2-1 in the NBA Finals. And while I thought whoever won the big Game 3 would take the momentum and have an advantage here, that wouldn't be the case whatsoever. Right after, they went back to battling it out, trading blows, pushing things to one last Game 7, but this one wasn't as close. In the final game to decide this entire simulation, Kareem was coming out blazing, clearly taking over this last matchup, and it wouldn't even be a debate. The Nets were winning the NBA championship in a thrilling 7 games, which now means Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the first to reach 2 rings and earn the title as the greatest center of all time.